Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo and Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know it's not working. So let's get open for business and let's wake up my prized possession, the football guys. How you guys doing? How you doing today? I don't know about you, but I'm actually feeling great. It is Thirsty Thursday, and today, 5:30 today, Eastern Time, Philly 500, or should I say below 500. Philly 500 has been saying, Mark Holmes, I want you to come on my channel. I want you to come on my channel. I want to talk about the Eagles and Cowboys and football and everything. And I'm like, okay, cool. I carve out some time because you guys know I'm busy. You guys know I am always busy. I'm running around like a chicken with a head cut off. But I make time for it. But then the day of, Philly 500 always comes up. Oh man, I gotta go look at furniture for 9 hours. I got 9.5 hours of editing I have to do. I gotta sit underneath my wife's feet and do her toenails and stuff. It's like, okay, all right, whatever, Philly. But then he turns around and says, oh, it's Mark Holmes. He doesn't show up. It's like, dudes, I have told you guys over and over and over again. I'm supposed to be on Philly 500s tomorrow. Boom. You know?
Are you stupid or something?
I'm as stupid as a stupid does.
Yeah. Are you crazy?
Crazy.
Just trying to understand what the deal is, Philly. So, we may or may not be live with Philly 500 today at 5:30. And if we're not, please go on his channel and tell him he's a scared dingbat. Okay, so our defense. This is going to be key to our season. I'm not so worried about the offense. I am a little worried about our offensive line, how we'll have Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins, as well as some of the other guys and stuff in there. You know, to me, everything in football comes from the lines out. If you don't have good lines, you're just not going to do it. It's just not going to be good. And we learned that lesson when we started drafting, like Tyron Smith and Travis Frederick and Zach Martin. That ended up making that offense really go. We can look at the quarterback, we look at the wide receivers, but the reality is, without that offensive line, you're not doing anything. And the same can be said about the defense. Now, I don't want to say that our defense was soft last year, but our defense was soft last year. And I think there's a philosophical change from where we were. Dan Quinn, 50-year-old younger guy. I like to say younger in comparison to Rod Martinelli. Older guy. And when you get older, you get a little bit more scared. You get a little bit more cautious. You get less aggressive. You know, you're not going to cuss a guy. Well, no, actually, well, you'll tell him to get off my lawn, but you'll be on your own porch. So if they come on your porch and everything, you're trespassing. I can call the cops on you. But you're not getting into somebody else's face. You're not going out there on the lawn and you're just yelling at them. That's because you're older. Now, I think the Cowboys' philosophy, and why we won't see like Richard Sherman or KJ Wright or Sheldon Richardson, is what this defense is going to be is a defense that's going to be fast and physical, and I'll get back to that in a minute. And I want to also say to the people out there who are talking about my man Quentin Bohannon, he's a 6th-round draft pick. You know, he's drafted in the 6th round for a reason. He's not going to do anything. He's not good at pass rushing. Well, let's suppose you take a guy who was a 7th round draft pick, defensive lineman, right? You're not really expecting a whole lot from a 7th round drafted off defensive lineman, right? You look at that and say, oh, he probably won't make the team. I got to get a guy in the 1st or 2nd round. That's funny because what people don't seem to understand is it doesn't matter where you get drafted. Once you get into an opportunity, We're all equals other than our paycheck. And you get guys who weren't thought of much that become the great ones. And case in point, Leon Lett, a 7th round drafted Dallas Cowboy. He only had one interview going into the draft.
Kelly with an inside handoff to Thomas, and he's knocked down, and a fumble. And the Cowboys pick it up, and here comes James Washington. A 41-yard return of a fumble caused by Leon Lett.
Yeah, back then it was 12 rounds. My thought was just to get in at camp. I was just hoping to get an opportunity. I had one workout. It was a workout with Kansas City. I remember it was Gunther Cunningham and Herm Edwards came up to Emporia and worked me out. And I remember when they left, I was hurting, but I didn't let them see it. When they left, I kind of just laid out on the field for about 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, I got to get in shape. This is what an NFL workout is about. Draft day, I was in Emporia, Kansas. I went to the gym that morning and shot hoops. And the day that I got drafted, which was 2 days later, of course, I was still in the gym shooting hoops, and I got a phone call just as I walked in the door. It was Coach Johnson, and I didn't want to believe it. And he said, welcome to the Dallas Cowboys. You've been drafted in the 7th round. And I was kind of just like, man, stop playing. I'm thinking, one of my guys was just joking with me. Mr. Jones got on and confirmed it. He said, hey, Leon, I just want to congratulate you on being a Dallas Cowboy. And I'll never forget that feeling, the emotions. It was just my roommate and I there, and we hugged each other quietly while I was still on the phone, getting the instructions on what I needed to do to show up for the next week.
Yeah, the Big Cat. The Big Cat was a 7th round draft pick. Didn't think he was in shape to be there, and realized I got to get myself in shape because this is an NFL workout. And Leon Lett was one of the best defensive linemen that we've had since the Doomsday defense. And I would take a Big Cat any day on that defensive line. The thing that was great about the past Dallas Cowboys defenses. And see, I think you really need to go back to your DNA, your identity, things that made your team great. You have to understand how fast and physical the Cowboys defenses were. The Big Cat, he was a big man, but he could still move. You think about how aggressive that Dallas Cowboys defense was in the 90s. You think about the Doomsday defense. Enter our defense now. When you looked at last year's defense, the last thing you looked at was fast and physical. When you looked at last year's defense, more times than not, you looked like confused and dazed. I hate to say that, but that's what our defense looked like, confused and dazed. They weren't real physical. They weren't going after, well, no, hold it. Let me stop there. Some guys weren't physical. I tell you what, when I saw the Canadian bulldozer take it to Pouncey and literally just stand him up, push him back into Big Ben, that's what I'm talking about, being fast and physical. That's what you want to have happen. We didn't see a whole lot of that last year. I hope to see a lot of that this year. And I want to remind everybody on this because I know I've done this several times, but this is where, when we start thinking about older players, I think about when I was in high school, one of my coaches, and I can't remember which one, he said, there's nothing worse than making a mistake. But if you're going to F up at full speed. If you're going to make a mistake, at least be flying around. Don't make a mistake where you're hesitating and then still doing the wrong thing, because now you're complicating the error. And that, my friends, was the problem with Dallas Cowboys last year. You'd see guys go to the wrong hole, but kind of hesitate going to the wrong hole. We had so many missed assignments, and we're going to have missed assignments with young guys. But with these guys, I think the plan with Dan Quinn is I'm going to be going after people. I'm going to put pressure on the quarterbacks, because when you start looking at the NFC East, Daniel Jones, when you start thinking about Jalen Hurts, all three of these guys have something in common, and that is turnovers. The last thing you want to have happen is those guys get comfortable. You want to go after them and force them into an error. Let's just go back to this one more time and understand Dan Quinn.
Whatever conditions were to come up tonight, we really, one of the main things we want to do is let's play at our style. And we did that tonight. That was one of the things going in all year long. We're fast, we're physical, and we have a real style about how we play. I thought that came out tonight. Coach, I certainly hope so. Couldn't be more proud to be part of that unit that plays, with an aggressive style. We talked about out-hitting people in terms of how we want to affect the quarterback and even checking the ball down the way we want to tackle. We wanted to win with fundamentals, and our guys work really hard in that fashion. It's something that our coaching staff and the players, we talk tackling, we talk turnovers really every day that we practice, and that's what came through tonight. What did you do? Well, we certainly have so much respect for their offense the way they did. So I was not surprised that we played well. We've had terrific weeks of practice and preparation. So going into it, we were healthy and really felt like we were going to play fast and physical. We prepared for no huddle for 2 weeks. And to give those group of guys 2 weeks to prepare, the coaches and those players, I think we're going to like the results.
What did you tell your players after the game, Coach?
Really just how proud I was to be part of the unit, and the thing that I was most impressed about is that we really played in a style and fashion that we're accustomed to. We're fast, we're physical, and we played this game on our terms, and that was one of the things we went into the game saying, and for us to go and play it in that way, and have it come true in that way, it was awesome.
Where do the Seahawks rank the all-time greatest defenses?
You guys decide that. I couldn't be more fired up to be part of our unit and the attitude and the way that we play, so I'll leave that to you guys. Coach Carroll has been he's been huge for my career. I think just how to feature the players, and let's find what a player can do well, and let's accent that. And that would be one of the many things that he's taught me.
What did that first front? Did you anticipate it would be that one-sided, like it was dominating their offense?
I don't know about that, but I certainly know our guys know how to rush, and that was one of the things we knew when you face a quarterback like him, you better be able to affect him. We didn't talk about sacks or hits. We talked about can we get him off the spot. And we knew in certain coverages there was going to be times when he got the ball out and under 2.2, 2.3, which is hard for a rusher. We know sometimes it can be, if it's at 2.6 or 2.7, that's when you can get the hit. So we knew they'd have to deal with us, in terms of, I was fired up for Clem and what he was able to do, and Cliff and Michael have been doing that for a while. So it was just another example of how, we have a really deep front, and some games you have to play real hard ball. It's going to be a running team, and then there's games like tonight where it's going to be more featured pass rush.
What did that Peyton Manning several times audibled into a run. Like Bobby Wagner was nodding. He came back and made a signal. Did you guys know any of the calls and the signals?
We did not. In fact, some of our calls, we just wanted to have some fun, and we made up some calls just so we'd be able to do some too.
Okay, here's interesting. This interview is almost like breadcrumbs that was left. And this is where you need to, the more I listen to this, the more pieces that I actually get to the puzzle. Because you can already see what he said right there is evolving the Dallas Cowboys. Fundamentals. He said, a lot of that was won with fundamentals. You've already seen Dan Quinn being hands-on, trying to teach these guys exactly hand placement, wax on, wax off, using the rip motion, showing how to do swim. You're seeing him teach the fundamentals to these guys, so that way it becomes instinct. There's not a question. He talks about being fast and physical. Okay. To be fast, typically you need younger guys. Richard Sherman, is still good. Sheldon Richardson is still good. But I don't know that they're as fast as they used to be or as physical as they used to be. You get a young guy out there who's hungry trying to make a new contract, they're going to be a little bit more physical and a little bit faster, aging veteran that's in his 30s. That's why they're staying away from older veterans. Physical play. You look at a guy like Quentin Bohannon. He's big, although he's slimmed down some. He's kind of like that Leon Lett mold of a guy who's physical, who can use his hands and shed blocks. Know how to rush. That's another thing he said in there. Know how to rush. Our guys know how to rush, which goes back to fundamentals, which goes back to be fast and physical. When you start pounding on the other side, the alignment, you start putting that pressure on there, you wear down the other team. The quarterback can't get comfortable. You force him into errors. And he also said deep front. And when you think about guys like Michael Bennett or Cliff Averill and things, all really, really good defensive linemen, but you didn't have like a Khalil Mack. You didn't have like, the best pass rusher out there. What you had was you had about 8 guys that you could just keep throwing in there on top of each other, keeping them fresh. It was a deep front that constantly, when the offensive line isn't changing and I'm only playing half the snaps, your ass is going to get tired. So you can see how already Dan Quinn is implementing a lot of the things that he had with Seattle. I don't know about you. I'm excited. I think that we are actually going to see a turnaround with the defense. And remember, we got nowhere to go but up. That defense was putrid last year. Dazed and confused. That's what last year's defense was. To fast and physical. I'm Mark Holmes, and you know the deal.
Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.